We all have that one friend, the one who says exactly what's on their mind, no matter what. And that's Sheetal Mars.
That's right. Every week, my friends and I dive into whatever's on my mind: sports, politics, pop culture, even my own struggles, you name it. If I'm thinking about it, we're talking about it.
Unfiltered, unapologetic, and just a little dangerous. Get ready for the wild ride that is Sheetal Weapon. You've been warned.
Welcome to Sheetal Weapon. I was just told this is our 10th episode. I don't know how to even feel about it. And the way, okay, actually, I do know how I feel about it. I have way overstayed my welcome. If you don't know, and you should by now, because there's no way you made it to episode 10 without knowing. I'm Lethal Sheetal. This is Biggie Chog, and we have a special guest on the show today, a really good friend of mine. His name is Sean. Sean, say hi.
Hey, or hi. I'm repeating how you said it. Do you want me to do an introduction or you want to do it for me?
Oh, you're going to introduce yourself. I don't know you.
Oh, okay, cool. So I am Sean. I am Sheetal's brother from another mister. That doesn't rhyme. I'm not a rapper. I'm a producer on the, you know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, Sheetal and I met at a cohort session in Syracuse in our class, and so we just kind of carried it forward for projects that we've been working on with each other. So it's been pretty cool. But by trade, I'm in the architecture industry. I actually am trying to give that life up because it just doesn't want to give me up, and it's becoming a nervous wreck. Moving into development to actually do some stuff for my childhood neighborhood, which usually gets overlooked and kind of under invested in. So I'm doing this more of a mission based situation, and then there's another project that I'm working on with Sheetal, and we can't talk about that right now.
Yeah, that's hush hush. That is classified information.
Yeah. We got people signing NDAs for that one.
I ain't signed one.
That is the 30,000 foot look at me. Oh yes,
I'm not gonna say anything.
Just like
it's
the
fine.
color of the screen that you see, I am black.
So
there you go.
Sean lives in Houston.
Yeah.
And what's funny about our relationship is that I met him literally my first day of our MBA program. So we were doing one of those seminars or, on-site things. And yeah, met him my first day. I saw him in person. We spent like two and a half days together doing that class. And I have not seen the dude since.
Not physically. We see each other on camera though.
Yeah, I mean, we talk a lot, but I have not seen the guy in person since. And this was after COVID. I mean, we started in 21. We definitely could have met up from time to time, but it's just like life. Life happens.
Yep.
And so, you're coming on a very special show. Yeah, we already did an episode where we brought an expert in to talk about healthcare. Today, we have no such expertise. We're going to talk about love and relationships, and the group of us are, a hodgepodge of experiences. I'm married. My brother's singling and mingling. Ladies, he's available. And then I have Sean, are you divorced or going through a divorce?
I want to say, I think that's completely done. So it's a no fault. So whatever she says goes pretty much. So I don't need to be around. But yeah, I'm single.
Yeah. So in the time I met you, you were with someone, got married, now you're divorced, and you're about to get back out on the scene too.
Not getting. I've already kind of hit it.
You on the scene.
Yeah. I had a Uber driver that literally gave me her number. So it's a new day and age for me. So this is definitely a new situation, considering I'm getting Uber driver numbers and meeting people online. So that's not.
Yeah,
really
you got backseat Uber game.
No, I really don't.
That's hard game to have.
No, I really don't. Don't let it fool you. This is like a luck of the draw kind of situation where it's kind of like how we met, like just having a regular conversation, and that person just was all into the conversation, which wasn't bad, but Apparently, it was enough to get her attention. And I was like, "Hey, what's your Instagram?" She's like, "Well, I can give you my number. I really don't have much going on my Instagram." I was like, I was trying to avoid that point because I didn't want to seem like I was a creeper. But yeah, it turned out it worked out. So she's from Portugal and graduated from Princeton. She's a pianist. So uh, yeah, I have a Princeton pianist that stays not too far from me that I ended up getting her phone number as a Uber driver. So it's crazy.
So so okay, so it was good conversation, and the back of her head was really doing it for you.
Not, I mean, it wasn't that. It was just, I think it really was just a conversation, honestly, which tends to happen. I think that's partially why I'm divorced because my wife thinks I'm probably flirting with everybody, but in actuality, and this is kind of you can kind of take it as a racial thing. Being a black male in America, tend to like kind of put on a show like every day you step foot outside your house. So you're there to make other people feel comfortable when in actuality that is a heavy weight to kind of like do. So because I'm in the professional field, a lot of people who have not grown up around foundational black Americans tend to think that we're always angry looking or intimidating because we you know our size and our color. But it's a rare thing when somebody actually just has a random conversation with you because you're just an interesting person to talk to. So yeah.
No, and I find that to be true generally, is that when two people meet, you kind of have this crossroads right away. You can either lean really hard into what you categorically think of the person. You go, okay, these are a few nuggets of information I know about them and just want to talk about that. Or
Mhm.
you can really have a conversation about who you are as people. And what makes me, and my brother and I were talking about this the other day. We were talking about the opportunity to strike up proper conversation is really rare now. Even when you go on a date, right? So
Mhm.
you swipe right, you end up on the date, and to even have like a meaningful conversation is hard, and that's like the whole reason you're there.
It is. I mean, and then in some cases there's like this back and forth between societal norms of like what the woman is supposed to do and what the man is supposed to do. And now it's all kind of like it's all a mess now because it started off just being this white, heterosexual, male patriarchy situation. And then now it's like people are in conflict with themselves. So women who are essentially attracted to a man who want to like go up to him are pretty much discouraged from doing it because somebody in their camp or they were, raised to be like, you know, a woman should not be doing things like that. But then a male now is discouraged from actually going up to women and asking them out because it's considered, you
It's
know,
fucking creepy, dude.
yeah, and but it's funny because in certain regional like situations when it comes to that, it's different because in Houston, the man typically goes up to the woman, but in Dallas, it's known that women actually approach men, and especially within
Yeah.
the black community, that kind of happens that way. In Portland, though, because that's actually where I live, man, it's a whole different weird dynamic. It's a lot of like suppressed feelings for as a white woman to black men, and there's a lot of mixed race couples up there, but it's always based on something really, really racial with that state, where a lot of women there are just defying their upbringing and just want to be with a black male, and then they don't understand the consequences of like being with that black male, where they don't understand like the mental health situations that are goes back lineages ago. So trying to kind of help them kind of be okay with the mixed relationship or the swirl, if you would, is kind of odd, especially for me going up to there, coming from the South, where the Emmett Till situation happened and all the other stuff. So you're going there, and then there was this expectation of like, oh yeah, everything should be fine. When in actuality, A, they don't talk to you in public, And then B, if they do approach you, it's usually behind closed doors. And if you're in public with them, it's kind of a shunning. Like it's not really, smiled upon, if you would, to see a mixed race couple there, but it actually is normalized. So,
Yeah,
and I
it's
sound contradictory, but
no,
it's
it's
really
it's
weird.
it's a strange thing because mixed race couples are more and more common. I'm in a mixed race relationship. My husband's white.
Hmm.
And when we were first dating, it's one of those things like that you start dating and it's not an issue, right? Because you're relating as people.
Hmm.
And then all of a sudden, different situations arise where your cultural upbringing pops up, or the fact that you're treated different pops up, and and for someone who's never experienced, discrimination, it's hard for them to imagine that or even understand that that experience we just had, even when they're there, I interpret it as discrimination and he interprets it differently, like, oh, you're just being sensitive. I'm like, but no, this is what happens all the time, every day.
Hmm.
And understanding that there is a difference, and it takes in that relationship, and a lot of them last a really long time. I actually don't want to say that mixed race couples don't work, because a lot of them last a really long time.
Hmm.
But it takes both sides recognizing that you grew up very differently. Like, Indian cultures are very about homogenous relationships. They literally pick someone who grew up in the same neighborhood, around the same families, with the same upbringing, the same culture as you, eating the same food as you every day. Like, there's no air between you as far as differences culturally. And
Hmm.
they say that that's like the foundation of a solid relationship. They don't believe that you can, even for Indians, right? Like, a South Indian will never marry a North Indian. Like
Yeah, you see
they
how
look
that works,
exactly
though,
the
right?
same. They're never
Oh
gonna
Yeah.
yeah.
get married. Yeah.
Well, I agree with Sean. It's not completely the same being, an Indian male versus a black male, but there are a lot of similarities. And I've dated in mixed race relationships before, and when you go out, people look at you. There are a lot of people who are uncomfortable. And so when Sean was talking about they don't know what the consequences are of what they're getting into, I definitely have seen that. They don't know. And it's always an interesting experience when they start to realize, oh wait, the, there are consequences for me dating outside of my race, dating for Sean, a black man, for me, an Indian man. And sometimes they push past it, other times they don't. And it just kind of depends on the person.
I think that's harder for girls. So if you're the white girl in that mixed race relationship, the judgment is so much harder for her from her community. And I'll say
It
for
is.
even for me, you know, I going outside of my race to get married, the judgment is really hard on me. And so it's it's harder for a woman. Like, I feel like for men, when you're in it's easier to go to your parents like, I'm in love. I'm gonna do my own thing. You can't control me. But girls like really struggle with the idea of putting that distance between their community and their family and being like, I'm in love. I'm gonna stay in this relationship.
I mean, and now to piggyback off of that, it kind of it's almost a double-edged sword, 50-50. It's complex, right? So with a black male, like getting in contact with a white woman as a suitor, the black family will immediately like embrace it because especially if that guy has been waiting so long on the suitor and finally finds one and ends up being somebody who's a different race, she's immediately embraced because it's like, all right, well, he took his time, waited, and this is the person he chose, so we're going to respect it. Now it takes a lot to break that within the black family. Whereas it's kind of odd because if you're a black male going into the white woman's family like situation, it's funny because the mother who's white might be okay with it because stereotypes, but then the father is probably going, nah, because that's a lineage of like what the black man is seen as, and then it's also an insecurity of the patriarchy in the family. So he's just kind of like, really, you're gonna bring this in front of me? Like that's kind of a slap in the face. But it's odd just kind of how the dynamics are. It's almost like Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. If you know
Yeah.
about the two different movies when it came to that, I mean, Sidney Poitier I think did the first one, and then
Mm-hmm.
Bernie, they switched roles and they did Bernie Mac as the black father with Ashton
Ashton
Kutcher I
Kutcher.
think as the,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's funny to see the dynamics between the two families over time. How
You
that dynamic looks now.
you should watch a movie called You People. It's on
Oh no, yeah,
Netflix.
yeah. Actually, that's funny because I've if you there's such thing called as like cornbread tube, which is a black version of bread tube, which is a
Hmm.
leftist kind of look at like how progressives see things in society. And boy, they rip that movie to pieces. They're just like, this doesn't make sense. Lauren London shouldn't have done this. How come they had an AI kiss? There's all kinds of like randomness that's associated with that movie, but there's also a lot of stuff that's left off in order for it to just be put in theaters. And so it ends up being another entertainment node instead of kind of a teaching moment. So those things definitely have to be taken as like a teachable moment, but added context after you see the movie. Whereas the Guess Who's Coming to Dinner kind of nails it a little bit. Both versions of I Guess Who's Coming to Dinner kind of hits it
Well,
up nail on the head.
and I know from my experiences, um, being in the black community, and I've talked to my brother about this. When we were younger, we weren't the most welcome in the Indian community. We were just way too American,
Really?
way
Oh my
too
gosh.
far removed from Indian society to be accepted.
What
And
do you
so,
mean by when we were younger?
oh
We're
yeah, it's
still
also
not
today.
welcome.
We're still not welcome. But it was funny because when we were growing up, there were two communities that really did welcome, at least me. It was the black community and the Jewish community that really just did not care what I looked like, wanted to hang out, didn't matter what my life was like, and there were strange overlaps of cultural similarities between the black community and the Indian community, just being people of color and knowing the racism that you experience every day.
Yeah,
And then with the Jewish community, it's basically Middle Eastern but nicer. Like
yeah,
they're just nicer to their kids,
yeah.
and so they understand the pressure that we were under. And so it was being in those communities. It was interesting when my friends would date and the judgment of, and it usually was judgment of black males choosing what, and it was specifically white, because if they picked Asians or Hispanics, or it wasn't as bad of a judgment. But I found that it was the sisters that would get more upset with their black brothers for choosing a white girlfriend.
Oh, I could tell you why. There's a lot of insecurity behind that too. So, but if the shoe was on the other foot, it would be glorified by black women. So it's the interracial trauma that we had experienced, like coming through, Reconstruction and all the other stuff as like free black slaves and reslaved. Where again, that's also a regional situation too, where you had some African Americans who didn't really, you know, kind of there was no uh, mental health people that were there back in the day, right? So there's a lot of PTSD that got handed down. Some of it handled it well, where they were just like, okay, I can date whoever I want to, or be real mature about this. Where others are just like, no, we need to stick to our own. And you always kind of have that faction within every race, right? Where it's like, no, we need to be nationalists, where we stick to our own culture. But then you have others who are just like, you know what, we're all here on this earth. Let's all like see if we can get along. Or I might actually genuinely be attracted to somebody who's outside my race. And my ex had a really, really bad problem with other women, especially black women, getting angry when they found out that she was married to me, and she couldn't handle it. She would get angry and be like, "Well, if you wanted him so bad, how come you didn't take it?" And that's the truth. Like a lot of times I've gone to my own and tried to, ask them out on dates, and then they'll just be like, whatever. But now, once you get married, all of a sudden it's like, well, why'd you have to marry her? I was just like, well, because well, y'all weren't looking for me when I was like single. So you can't get mad at, somebody of the opposite race marrying or dating somebody outside their race when the opportunities were there, but you chose not to select the person when they gave you that opportunity. So it's an insecurity, but then also, too much TikTok, too much Facebook, and then they end up choosing people that end up being not really there for them, and then they regret their decisions later. So it's a thousand cuts, a thousand band-aids, but for some reason we haven't figured out this is pretty complex.
I would say it predates social media, though. I don't think that's a social media. I think social media exacerbates the problem.
That's true.
But I don't think that's a social media thing because when we were growing up in the 90s, no social media, 80s, 90s,
That's a
that
good
was
point.
still a thing.
Yeah.
And it the way it was explained to me, and again, I don't have any of my black female friends to speak for themselves on this
Hmm.
issue right now, but it's the way it was explained to me, and I'm going to try to remember, is it's a little bit of, yeah, it's PTSD and feeling hurt that when you finally have the ability to love who you want and be with who you want, that the black men that you want to be with somehow think the ideal woman is a white woman. And so it diminishes you. As a black female, you go, well, what's wrong with me? Why do all the quality men, why do all the quality black men keep choosing white women as their perfect partners? Why are they not choosing black women? And so then it's almost doubling down on their identity. And that always happens when I see anybody who feels like their identity is getting maligned societally. They lean in more heavily on that identity, is kind of like you will acknowledge the validity of it. And it's a feeling of, well, how is it that we've come so far as a culture and as a group, but now I'm feeling rejected by my own. Like
Yeah,
I'm already used to being rejected by the other, but now I'm being rejected by my own.
but
And
I was gonna
yeah,
say again in context. So you're talking to a educated black man who had his, master's degree since 24. I'm 42 now, 43 now, and as many educated women as I come across from my early 20s to my 30s to now my early 40s, um, there's this, nose in the air attitude. You're not on my level. Um, you know, get it together. That kind of, situation that we keep coming across as professional black men when we try to reach women who are black professionals too. And then the other thing is too, and again, this is a complex issue. It's not necessarily black or white, no pun intended. Um, that attraction is a huge thing. So if you're a woman that looks like an Instagram model, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get the professional man to step in. But 9 times out of 10, too, he might be a jerk. And then shoe on the other foot, if a black man who's successful and looks good, then the successful and good looking black woman will try to go after that dude. And I mean, it's just, again, PTSD of who you decide to choose based on looks as well, because it's not just, brain power that attracts you to an individual. I mean, a conversation is cool and all that other stuff, but when you look at that individual, there has to be some sort of like physical attraction too that sometimes, gets in the way of like who you decide to be with. And I mean, that's a issue within itself as well.
so I'm gonna give you guys, because I'm on the show with two dudes, and I
Oh,
got bro vibes, so I'm gonna
Bro vibes.
Yeah, I got bro vibes. I wanna give you the girl perspective, and I want to take this out a little bit away from the realm of race, because I think this concept crosses racial norms. I think this is an experience between men and women generally.
Hmm.
Because I know my brother has talked about that too in the dating scene, that he's experienced it, and I know a bunch of white guys who are dating who are saying the exact same thing. Um, my thought on this, and my brother and I have had a chance to talk about this, is that I feel like dating, and this is where social media is making things a lot worse. I feel like dating has become very, very transactional.
Yeah, it has.
It's I'm gonna look pretty, you're gonna buy me dinner. I'm gonna decide if you look hot enough for me to want to have dinner with you again, or do
Hmm.
something else with you. And you're going to look at me and go, are you submissive enough or compliant enough for me to want to buy you dinner again? And it's very quid pro quo. And I feel like in the date itself, it's like a negotiation. Like it's like laying down cards. I have a job. Great. I have a 24-inch waist. Great. I have a car. Great. I know how to cook pasta. Great. Like,
Until somebody says Uno reverse. No, I'm just playing.
right.
Draw four.
Right. And it's this tit for tat of relationship resume building. Like, I've got this, you've got that, I've got this, you've got that, until you get to this place of, all right, and I hate that my brother's on the call, but okay, you're effable, right? Like,
Oh, don't worry. I talk about this stuff with my sister too, so it's all good. So
but you're going
no
to lay out
embarrassment.
enough of these cards to get to the end result, which is we both want to see each other naked. And that's really what the transaction was about. It was a negotiation to see if you're worth that. And then the relationship doesn't have an opportunity to go beyond like why you are the way you are. Like this most solid foundations of relationships are based on the why you are the person you are. Not you are the person that you are. It's not it like if relationships were based on matching resumes, and we think they'd be lasting, but that doesn't actually work. And I see a lot of people who choose, oh, but he was a doctor, or oh, but he was a lawyer, or oh, but he had high earning potential. And then they're shocked that they're cheating on them every other week. And,
Yeah.
and they go, but I wanted a relationship. No, you
You want
wanted a
that money.
transaction. You
Yeah.
wanted a transaction. And then they're disappointed in their 30s that they're neglected and that they have a bunch of kids, and this relationship didn't ever turn into more than someone provides you a home and basically nothing else, and you provide them with sex and children and homemaking and basically nothing else, and there's nothing that's bringing you together as a partnership or as a couple. And that's not a blanket statement for all relationships. There are a lot of successful stay-at-home mom, high-powered men relationships that are beautiful. I know these couples, and it's nice. But it's a lot of them met in college and they
Mhm.
formed a bond in a relationship, and one was like, I really want to be a homemaker, and the other one was like, I'm really okay with that. Just so you know, I really want to build this really high-powered career. And they kind of make it work in that adjustment of, okay, this is what I know my life is going to be like. And we find time to come together, and we keep finding time to come together, even though we're so different. I feel like with social media today, and you can even see it in just the TikToks and the podcasts where it's, you know, what do you bring to the table? Right?
Mhm.
This conversation of this very concept of what do you bring to the table? I'm like, bitch, nothing. I got this is what you got. I
But some,
got I got nothing for you.
I mean, sometimes that's kind of cool though. I end up starting off like that, where I had attractive women in college who was trying to date me, but I had nothing to offer. I was like literally sleeping off of other people's floors, eating their old food. Like college was a struggle for me, even though I was on the dean's list. It was still like one of those cases where I have nothing to offer you except for like whatever I know about architecture that I can tell you off the top of my head. But that ain't, that's not going to buy you dinner. That's not going to make me a
Well,
romantic suitor,
and it's
anything,
and it's companionship.
which I
It's
didn't know at the time either. Like, because I was
and so
still a
from
bit of a geek, but,
and
during
that's
those
the thing
days.
is, and for girls, and this is what I was gonna say before, but this brain goes on a roller coaster. This is the Jeremy Bearimy of brains. But I was thinking that for women, or at least this is my experience, that yes, there's a certain amount where it's attraction, but 90% of my relationship building comes from a matching of frequency.
Right.
Like you're vibing with each other, and the vibing makes you attractive. And I feel like because it's so transactional, because it's based on a physical attraction,
Hmm.
right? You can't even open yourself up to the opportunity that someone who you initially wrote off as just a friend or someone you initially didn't think was attractive, you don't even bring yourself the opportunity that maybe you could be vibing with this person, and that vibe just makes them glow in your eyes and they become attractive. And that's not saying that these people are ugly. And I will say, and I've brought this up to other women, and they will say, yeah, but when I date the non six pack ab guy, when I date the guy that's not really my type, they're all in my face, like they're assholes. And I will say, like, there is a responsibility from the guy perspective that when you're going on the date, whether you're a 2 or a 10, you gotta be nice.
Oh,
Like
sure.
like you can't be a dick. But if you're gonna be, a 4, 5, 6, you extra can't be a dick. Like what is that all about?
Oh, that's manosphere stuff. I know you told me kind of what the topic was going to be before I got it, or before I got here, and I went back and I just went down the rabbit hole of AI stoic YouTube channels. And
Oh gosh.
it is the most hilarious thing. Now, I screwed up my algorithm doing it, but boy, you talking about like some of the stuff they say about here's what you do to make sure that she comes back to you, and
Oh
uh,
no.
it's like it's the most saddest situation of like, hey, pick me women. If you don't know about like what the term pick me is,
Oh,
it's
I
like,
know.
well, just for the audience sake,
Yeah. Oh, wait. No, you mean the one person we've allowed to
oh,
listen to the
sure. Hey, dear audience member, here's some advice about AI slop that is on YouTube now.
show?
Like the women's side, the pick me side is like the ones who are just like, we'll say anything for you to pick us. And even though we know it's against our basic programming as being a woman, we will do everything possible to make sure that you're comfortable enough to choose us, even though it's very counter to like what we want or what we are willing to give. So, and then you got the opposite side where the man is all about here's how you are a sigma and this is what you do to make sure that you keep the upper hand in the conversation. And I'm just like, um,
Well, there's a falseness to all of it, right? Like,
it is.
so I will say that I get, I when I learned what pick me woman was, and the TikToks and stuff are showing like this girl going, oh, I love sports too, and oh yeah, I'm gonna go and have chicken wings and beer with the guys, and that's kind of this attitude. It's adopting a very, um, you love all the masculine stuff,
Yeah.
and that's why I'm a better girlfriend than your frilly girly pink wearing,
Yeah. I'm not
makeup
I'm not
wearing
like
friend.
other girls kind of
I'm not
chicks.
like other girls. And then I go, wait a minute, am I a pick me? Because I've grown up almost exclusively around men. I have two brothers.
Hmm.
I I went into a male dominated field. I've spent most of my life around men. And I'm like, why am I not allowed to like football? Like, what's wrong with me? Yeah, like, but then I realized there's a falseness to it. A pick me girl is doing that specifically, one, to knock other women down.
Yep.
It's a push to the side of I'm better than you because I adopt this attitude or this avatar of femininity. Like, because
Yeah.
I think masculinity is better, you as a feminine girl is shitty. And so but then they themselves are not actually authentic in those things that they don't actually like those things.
Right.
Yeah,
And I
it's
mean,
intentional,
yeah, no, it
Yeah.
is.
and it never lasts. Like when you try to do something that's false, okay, you might start the relationship and you get the guy to pick you or whatever, but you're not gonna 5 years down the road, you're gonna be like, all right, I'm tired now. We're together now. It's permanent. I'm done with all that. For you, you just like what you like.
Yeah,
It
I just
is
like what
who
I
you are.
like. And I've kind of come to this in relationships too. It's like, and I get the wanting to find fault in it, but some people are just not your people. Like, I've kind
Yeah,
of realized that
that's
in
it.
relationships. Like, you're not my person. Like, when I watch some of these TikToks and they're like, if you adopt this attitude, you're going to be 35 and single.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm not your person then. Go find your person. Why are you yelling at me? There's like 4 billion girls. There's lots of girls. Go find the one that wants you the way you are. If you don't like a 35-year-old single woman who's like gonna have kids later in her life or never have kids, guess she's not your girl. Like, why are you yelling at her to be different? And I asked, like, are you trying to get her to be different for your buddies who are looking for women? But they don't want her either. Like, that's not your girl. Your girl is this thing. And by the way, what makes me sad about those exchanges, even when it's women doing the same thing, I want 6 feet. Yeah. What is the
Tall, dark, and handsome. Yeah.
Guy in
what
finance.
I want a man in finance, 6 foot, blue eyes. Like, you want this again avatar of a guy, and you want it's transactional. You pick this thing and you say, okay, that's the relationship, but the relationship isn't about any of that. And then they're bummed out that those guys don't want you. Like, they don't
But that
want you.
now that you bring up like a valid point. It's like like so in the Christian culture, like they always say, you need to date somebody or be. What is it? It's in the Bible. It's like same fruit tree, something like that. It's really bad. I can't remember, folks. I'm bad Christian. I'm a bad Christian. Anyway,
We don't
you have to.
judge here. We listen and we don't
I
judge.
know, right? We've been watching way too much social media. We gotta get off. Oh God, it's worse than we got to cut the cord, or in this case, the Ethernet cord. So
Ethernet cord. Who has cords? Dude, you are aging yourself so hard right
Yeah.
now.
no, I'm not. I said
What is a
Ethernet
cord?
cord. That Ethernet cord is plugs directly into the unless y'all are teasing me. Yeah, it's directly into the fiber optic cable that's buried in your yard. So there you
Yeah,
go.
it is a
Yeah.
cord. So for the youngins, let me woman's plain this man right now. For the youngins who've never had to plug their computer in to the phone jack in their house and listen to a dial up, and then you have to go and tell your mom, "Hey, get off the phone, I have to do homework," and you plug
Well,
it into the
wait,
phone
you're
cord.
going you're going way back
Get
to like
disconnected.
fax machines.
So
Yeah.
then you have the phone jack, and then it got more sophisticated, it got a little fatter. So then there was a designated Ethernet jack where you would plug your computer into the wall in your house, and that's how you got online. Now, today, kids, you're all Wi Fi.
Yeah,
I am
right.
not plugged into the wall at all.
Okay, let me give y'all some social economic
Except for, yes, I know the router and the modem is plugged in to the wall. I
yeah.
get it. I get it.
Yeah, but you got to think like so I'm I'm gonna kind of tease Sheetal a little bit. Like she stays in a fancy neighborhood, so you can get Wi-Fi without interruption. Um, but us
How
folks in
bougie,
predominantly
yo.
black Hispanic neighborhoods, we got to plug directly into the fiber optic cable, man, because there ain't no signals coming through here.
That's true. And yes, I've lived that
I
life.
agree.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's
In a
strategic, by
state
the way.
where,
Just want to let y'all know.
yeah. But this
yeah,
is
where
Bouge Town, population me.
you technically have Wi-Fi, but the Wi-Fi is so bad that it doesn't count. And then you're like, well, I have to run the cable. At my old apartment, we had hundreds of feet of cable just running across the whole house because that's just how it had to be.
No,
Yeah, good times.
that's real. I mean, people don't understand when I was growing up. I'm gonna really date myself. People had big ass satellite dishes in their backyard, straight up,
Mhm.
just satellite dishes.
Yep.
And I showed my cousin about it was a boudoir that actually folded out into a big screen TV where the projector actually projected up onto a screen, but you can watch everyday TV through that thing. And I was just, she looked at it and she's like, "What is this dinosaur?" I said, "Exactly. You don't know anything about that right there, boy. If you had one of them, you made it in life back in the
Oh
80s."
yeah.
But you had that blue, green, and red like projector. It was so bad. But hey, talk about relationships right there. If you had that, boom, that in a waterbed. Oh,
Oh.
that's how you know you
Yeah,
made
you had
it.
the water bed. It was on and popping.
Yo, water beds back in the gap. That was instantaneous. Drop them right there. So
I had a really good friend who had a waterbed. I was so jealous of her. And then, you do one of those like sleepovers. I was never allowed to sleep over, but you would hang out, right? Until your parents came up in a huff and ripped you out of the house. Bitch, you were supposed to be home. And
hmm
then you go like, but you hang out in the room and the bed is, and you like think it's the coolest thing you've ever seen in your life until you lay on it and you're just like, there's no video, but you're
I I personally
on
have
the ground on
yeah.
this bed.
The wave.
You cannot get comfortable on this thing.
I don't know how that was a thing, man. Because like during the like free
No.
love era, I think water beds were a thing too. And I'm just like, how did y'all even get down with the get down on that thing? It's just it messes up your motion. The you know what I'm saying? Like the whole motion in the ocean definitely was literal there because there's water involved. And it's just I don't understand how you can how you have a consistent frequency and thrust or otherwise in a waterbed. I just don't. I didn't get it. So apparently they went out of style because of that. I don't know. I'm kidding
Oh
here.
yeah, it's a logistical nightmare, and they leaked. Like there's not,
Yes.
I never had friends
you
tell me that it leaked, but yeah, I can
that
see.
shit popped.
You get a hole in it. It's like an air mattress, but with water. And
Mm-hmm.
now,
Yeah, no, I've never had friends tell me that there was a leak, but oh my
Okay,
god.
okay. So the best story I had of this, again, I had a friend with a waterbed. So jealous, and she was she had a boyfriend, and she's with the boyfriend, and he's like, "Ooh, baby, you're you're so wet," and then they realize the damn bed is popped.
Wow.
And she's like, "That's not
Wow. The entendres that are coming out of that joke.
me." I was like,
I
"Oh."
don't I don't look.
And,
So you're
and,
talking
and
about
then
like yeah, go
they
ahead.
proceeded to have to clean it up because I guess they were together. And they're like, this is our parents' house. So now
Oh
the
my
bed
god,
is
no.
deflating.
Mm-mm.
It's draining
First
across
of
the
all,
house.
first of all, at
Little
your
boy
parents'
opens
house
the door.
too, there's no embarrassment to that at all. It's
Oh,
just,
complete embarrassment. But I thought that was the best story.
oh my goodness. Yeah, so
Yeah.
now that we went down memory lane of a waterbed and a
And
boudoir
Ethernet cables.
projector, big screen, I was interested
and Ethernet cables.
in
Yeah.
Ethernet cables. There you go, and big ass satellite dishes in your backyard before any of this came up to fruition. But yeah, I was interested in like the cultural part of relationships because a lot of times, like, so I'm a Black American that got married to an Arab who was like a refugee from Iraq. And so there's two separate types of like PTSD there. So there's PTSD of like my upbringing and my ancestry in America, whereas there's PTSD for her and like, the war machine coming through her town at 5 years old and civil wars and all that other stuff after, the Saddam Hussein regime fell and all kinds of stuff. So you got two broken people technically who found each other through like trauma, but then there was a physical attraction between the two. But then there's also like this, like I don't like being slapped on the butt, but she loved it because she saw her parents do it. Now me, I got trauma because I got my ass whooped like by my parents, so I don't like
Yeah.
things going near my butt. Period. It's just I don't like the feeling of any
They
types of
have
slaps.
less butt, dude. This is really on you.
Well, it is. I can definitely tell you she's attracted to my butt because apparently all the other persons she was with had pancake booties, but what am I supposed to do with these glutes? It's just a
Yeah.
part of my lineage, you know what I'm saying? But she just kept slapping. I was like, "Can you please stop doing that?" It is really nerve wracking, but she just could not help herself to just slap my butt, and I'm just like, so, there was that situation between the both of us, and then if arguments would happen, there'd be yelling. Now, both of us hate being yelled at, but for one of us, they didn't want to give that up, and they thought that it was okay. Then there's also the vision of, or the stereotype that most Black people are stronger physically and also mentally because of the stuff that we went through. It's like, no, dog. Like we may show that on the surface, but when we go home, we break down. Like
Yeah,
it's
I like the show. I think it's Issa Rae's show called Insecure.
insecure. Yeah.
Yeah, and you project strength, but the one thing that I think is a kind of misconception about the Black community. One, it's not a monolith.
Yeah.
And no community
Mhm.
is. But the amount of goofballs in the Black community, like we think they're all just stoic and powerful, and there's this caricature of what
Mm-mm.
a
It's
Black man is.
comedy.
It's a caricature of Black women too. This like there was a lot of Black women say, I don't want to be strong. I want to cry and have ice cream too. I
Yep.
don't want to
Yep.
be this.
Mhm.
Bonbons on the
Nobody asked
couch.
me if I wanted to, portray Superman as Superwoman every goddamn day.
Hmm.
But yeah, there's a lot of goofiness in that community, a lot of looseness, a lot of silly humor, and just being free to feel the whole pantheon of emotion
Hmm.
for both sides, for men and women, is especially prevalent in the Black community. But I want to touch on your cultural difference there, especially going from a Mideast, Asian akin
Hmm.
culture and an American Black culture, which is very, very, very different things. One of the things that I talk about a lot is, the dichotomy of being an Asian American. So Asians by nature are collectivists. It is a hard wiring from birth
Hmm.
that you are nothing. You are the property of your parents. They control you. They own you. Your existence is but to serve the global community, starting with your parents and going on to your uncles, going on to your grandparents, going on to your neighbors. If they're older than you, they are better than you, more important than you, and they control your every action and movement. And you accept that, because you get it told it every single day. And so it's really shocking, especially when Asians marry or date Americans, because they're really shocked by this idea of, why do you listen to your parents all the time? Why do you answer their phone all the time? Why
Yeah.
do you let
I
them say
struggle with
nasty
that.
things to you all the
Mhm.
time? Why do you let them say nasty things to me all the time? And it's not a it's that you literally can't do it differently. It is so ingrained in your mind, body, and soul that that guilt will eat you up. The idea of disobeying your parents can break an Asian person
Wow.
to the point where they're like, I don't know how to exist in this world. It is easier mentally for them to deal with any kind of abuse and we're not even just talking, we're not talking necessarily physical, but like that, a mental, emotional, what Americans would consider abusive behavior.
Hmm.
Asians would so
Mhm.
much rather deal with that than the idea of disappointing their parents.
Yeah, and that's something I wasn't familiar with before I met my wife, where everything was on the surface was all good, but then the moment you tell her like, "Hey, I feel like you're being manipulated. A lot of things you're being drug into situations
Yeah,
that
you
you
can't
shouldn't
say
be."
that shit.
Oh no.
And it's
What?
one of the, and I'll say it this way, because I think there's the same thing in the black community too. Is like when someone outside the community goes and tries to criticize your family,
Yeah,
your culture, you go, hey, you're not from here, you don't know what it's like, you have no right to judge what my family and my community does, you
yeah.
don't know what we've been through.
Now,
And the
granted,
same thing goes the other way. When people go, oh, you're being, this isn't right. I can't believe they act this way. This isn't how they should act. You know, you have no right. You didn't go through it. You have no right to judge how Asians conduct themselves. And I
right
think that goes both ways. Um,
now, let me
yeah.
real quick step in on that one. That was my undereducated, you know, perspective of going into that relationship, of like me trying to kind of apply my upbringing with hers, and I think that's where it all kind of fell short, because that wasn't explained to me of like what I was getting myself into either. But at the same time, I get it too, where you just explained, you telling somebody, hey, the way you were brought up was wrong, is kind of a slap in the face, considering like this is all you know, the rules have been there, you've established like your solidarity to that, and then somebody comes along and is like, yeah, you were, all that's wrong. It throws you out of
Yeah.
whack. And so like that's it. I understand like that side of it. And I told her I also understood another side of it, because I lost my job, and the dad can only see his daughter, like, providing for the house, whereas in their culture that's shunned, that's not looked
Mm-hmm.
upon well. And so all she can do is get angry with me and say that I'm not protecting her against her, parents' expectations. And so there's this back and forth on, what should she do? So I gave up the reins. I said, look, if you're too embarrassed, or if this is putting you in a bad situation with your parents, just go stay with your parents, and just, we'll separate until you can get to a point where you're comfortable being a part of this or whatever, or until I get a new position and they're accepting of it. But
And
it's
and
just,
that's the thing is like, by the way, I've seen it in white relationships too.
there you go.
I've seen where parents have so much outsized influence on
Hmm.
the relationship. And so what I'll give you from my perspective, because it's traumatic for my husband to see how my parents talk to me, and he goes, that's just not how I would never be okay. I can't
Hmm.
watch it. And I go, it's fine. I'm like, I'm used to it. I don't think much of it. And when we get into arguments, sometimes he'll go, well, you're just listening to your family.
Yeah.
You're just getting upset because your family wants you to be upset with me. And I feel like when you're having an argument and you want to try to, get your point across, I think bringing up the family as some kind of mind control unit never never makes that conversation easier,
No.
because I feel like when that gets brought up to me, I feel like I'm in a no-win situation. I'm
Right.
basically being accused of not having a brain of my own, and that
Yeah.
I can't be mad because
Well,
I'm just mad.
right. And I think that goes to the nature of conversation, that, you know, we shouldn't come from a place of judgment, but we also shouldn't be afraid to have conversations about different cultures,
Hmm.
and try to understand each other. It's more on, do we even want to know what their side of things are
Right.
and what they've gone through? And sometimes, look, my parents do manipulate me. That's just the truth,
Hmm.
right? And I do have weird guilt. If my dad calls and I don't answer it, and then an hour later he calls again, I can't say no twice.
Right.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I will die. I'll be like, either like if I say no twice, now my brain thinks that he must be dying.
Right.
He was calling me because he's on the street, right? Like he's bleeding out somewhere,
Yep.
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And when I pick up, he's like, "Oh, yeah, I just wanted to tell you about my dinner. I made some really awesome food today." And I'm like, "Oh, jeez, my guilt
Yeah.
got me."
Yeah. It is. It's always something innocuous. You know, our parents will call us, and they would call 1, 2, 3 times, and they're like, "Did you remember to drink milk today?"
That's it. Yeah.
Yes.
It's like that. And so my husband, you know, like, don't answer. You don't have to answer. And you get that pressure. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to answer. And then I don't answer once and then don't answer twice. And now I have a surge of adrenaline like I'm being chased by hyenas. Like
Yeah.
I feel like death is imminent. Like I feel like the stress, the anxiety, it's so palpable. And like I'm sitting there like I'm stimming, I'm thumb hugging, I'm doing all of the things to try to calm myself and cope. And then the phone rings again. And I'm looking at my husband with the doe eyes, and he's like, "Be strong." And I'm like, "I can't." And I pick it up. I'm like, "Hi, Daddy." And he's like, "Shito." He's like, and this just happened. He goes, "Can I see your labs?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Well, we all have high cholesterol. Can you send me your labs from your last doctor's visit so I can see what your cholesterol levels are?" And I'm like, "No, Daddy, I'm not going to send you my labs." He's like, "But why? We share everything with each other."
Oh
I'm
God.
like,
Y'all have one of
I'm
those. Oh.
like, "I can't. I don't know why you need to know." He's like, "Because I need to monitor and make sure that you are taking care of yourself. I need to see your labs."
But that's the funny part though, right? Like they actually genuinely care about you like deep like that in their own
Yeah.
weird way, but you have to
Yes.
be okay with their weird way of thinking that way about you and
E-
trying to navigate.
Right.
exactly. And I'm like, "I love you, Daddy, but no." And I'm like, "My cholesterol's
Yes.
fine." It is. He's like, it has to be high. Everybody in the family has high cholesterol. It has to be." And "It's fine. I'm fine. I'm just dehydrated." And he's like, "That's because you don't drink enough milk."
Yeah, but what if you're lactose intolerant, man? Because I know
Well,
I'm
we don't believe
lactose
in that.
intolerant, so
All Indians and
It's
Asians
not
are
real.
lactose intolerant, but we drink the
wow.
milk.
Well, actually, that's a real thing. Like in India, they don't even know what that means. Like,
Oh.
if you go there, you ask for lactose free anything. They're
Hmm.
like, what does that mean? What are you talking about?
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh.
no, they have no concept of it. And for my father, and like let me give you that cultural background. My father grew up extraordinarily poor, where
Okay,
it's
I got
like
you.
you go days without food. And on like the third day of going without food, somehow milk shows up in the house.
Uh,
And that's your source of all nutrition, right? Like milk is protein, it's fat, it's carbs, it's sugars, it's a
it's
lot.
everything. It's all in one.
It's on all in one. Now you're nourished enough to make it another 2 days. So it's like this perfect thing that you have to have, and he associates that with survival. Like he associates that with living.
Oh, it's
And so
it's
for
a
him,
contextual thing. Yeah, I
yeah,
got
you when you can get to the context of where that's coming from. I think what happens in relationships, because my husband is the weirdest thing. He hates milk. We have so much
it.
milk in the house, and he hates it. And he's like, what the frick is going on with the milk situation? When you get to the root of it, when you actually have the time to sit together and talk about where that comes from, it it now feels more understandable. Now some of those weird quirks in your spouse or in your significant other start to make sense. I think what ends up happening a lot in relationships is we focus so much on that immediate of, "This is freaking weird.
Yep.
You're weird. I don't want to deal with this." And then when you have kids and other stuff and work, that time for one introspection on your own life, to know that my weird obsession with milk comes from my father's survival instinct.
Hmm.
um like, how do you have the time to be introspective, to know that about yourself, and then have the presence and vocabulary to explain that to someone who can't possibly have experienced the same thing but understand the concept? Like, I told it to you, you go, oh yeah, that makes sense, and most people will. But I think I even struggle with explaining some of the things I think and do as just a woman, forgetting that I'm an Indian woman,
Hmm.
to my husband, because we speak fundamentally different languages. We're both speaking English,
Mhm.
but the words that each of us are using have very different meanings.
But I mean, that gets to the communication part of both of y'all's relationship with each other, and that develops over time. There's a black actress named Ruby Dee who was married to another black actor, or married to a black actor. I can't think of his name right now, but he's well known, and they've been together for like a long time. I want to say 60 plus years together. And she said after the 30th year, that's when you're just now starting to get to know your partner. I was like, oof, that's how long it's gonna take. But I mean,
That
I'm
is.
exaggerating there, but at the same time, it's true. It's like you evolve over time as a couple, and for every situation, there's an evolution. So from the time that you start dating, that's when you first understand each other at that moment. But then when you graduate to knowing each other for a year, there's an evolution. You made it to a year of knowing each other. Then if you're actually getting engaged, that's another evolutionary point. Then you get married, that's another evolution. You're evolving throughout a series of different situations that y'all both going through, including having kids. They get to elementary school, they get to middle school, high school. Those are all milestone markers that a lot of people don't take into consideration of how your relationship is evolving, and you need to evolve with what's going on, because the same way that you are when you first had your child to the time that you're an empty nest, like your whole, like how you navigated life with each other always changes. And for some reason we never take into consideration how complex relationships are over time with each other, instead of just a one size fits all solution of like, well, we're going to be this way to each other at this point, and then that expectation should withstand everything all the way to the end when we die. And it's like, no, that's not how that
No.
works. So,
And you're meeting a new person. What I've realized now is, and it's so hard to describe it. You're the same but different,
yeah.
right? I've been the same Sheetal since I was 4. Like, this is the same, but how I present myself is, like, even now today, the how I present myself is wildly different than how I presented myself at 24.
Right. Yeah,
You know,
because there's a
and
there's an evolution that happened
Mhm.
there.
yeah, there's a whole, like, growth that happens, and so you're constantly needing to reintroduce yourself to
Hmm.
your partner and share in your passions and interests. I was thinking about I don't know if you saw the movie The Breakup. And yes, we're millennials, so we're going to relate everything to a movie.
Yeah, the
But,
movies.
like, there's a scene in The Breakup. It's the most famous scene of The Breakup, where Jennifer Aniston is yelling at Vince Vaughn, going, I want you to go to the ballet, or something like that. Like,
Hmm.
what about the ballet? Or, I want you to wash dishes. He's like, why the fuck would I want to wash dishes? So that doesn't make any goddamn sense. And she goes, I want you to want to spend time with me. And it couldn't. And for a lot of guys, they're, empathizing with Vince Vaughn's character, going, yeah, why would I want to go to the ballet? Why would I want to wash dishes? Why would I care that it did? We could have ordered pizza tonight. It does. Why do I have to be all stressed out because she's all stressed out to make this perfect dinner, when the perfect dinner doesn't matter? I see that even with husbands and fathers and their kids, because women are be like, okay, so the lunch has to be made with star-shaped cheese, and then he likes hearts for his strawberries, and then you go and you make this perfect lunch every single day, and the pressure to make that perfect thing every single day. because you're judged as a mom. And then you go away and dad has to make lunch and he throws in a soup can and a can opener and a plastic bag in the backpack.
He's the greatest person in the world.
He's the
Yes.
greatest. And you're sitting there and he's going, I'm winning. Look, he's fed. Like, I don't get it.
We're so basic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you're having this conversation and it's not about the dishes and it's not about the ballet. It's about what ultimately always changes in a relationship. And me and my brother talked about this recently. When I talk about relationships, there's that dating phase.
Mhm.
It's all love. It's all 3-hour conversations until 3 o'clock in the morning, and you share your deepest, darkest secrets and fears and hopes and dreams. You're sharing, 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 sharing. It's this emotional connection. It's physical. It's intense, and it lasts 6 months to 2 years, depending upon how the
Yeah.
relationship goes. Right?
Yep.
You're seeing and it's constant attention, and the guy is, he buys you flowers when you're least expecting it. He shows up and is courting you, right? In that overt show of affection and love. And yeah, they're taking you to the ballet and they're like, I love you. I love that you love flower arranging. Let's do flower arrangements together. That guy doesn't like flower arrangements, but in that moment, he wants to be with you. And so over the course of 6 months to 2 years, the woman is falling in love, right? This guy loves me for who I am, shares in my passions, is sharing his emotional scars and struggles. We both we have the same ambitions, and he's attentive and he makes sure there's food for me and he rubs my feet when I get home from a hard day. And he's like, baby, I love you. And then you propose, and there's now diamonds involved, and it's a slew of gifts and everything you think a perfect relationship should be. And then you get married and that guy fucking disappears. By the way, the girl disappears too. I
Yeah.
don't want
I
to
was gonna
say
say
that.
it
I'm
could
not
go
going to
both
say
ways. Yeah.
definitely goes both ways, because that girl's not cooking anymore. That girl's not dressing up anymore. That girl is not doing any of the things of, oh baby, baby, sweetie, honey. Oh, I'm
Yo,
sorry you had such a hard day.
that
And then
that
now
dressing
it's
up
like,
part
get
like
your
hits
ass
home.
up and go to work. Right? Like that's the attitude that shifts
Yep.
in marriage. And you get married, and the people that you fell in love with was the good versions of yourselves, the attentive, the loving, the sharing, and all that. And that goes away. Those people are nowhere to be found after marriage. And so when a girl's like, you should know why I'm mad, I shouldn't have to tell you why I'm mad. Where that's coming from is because the 2 years before you got married, you knew why she was mad. She didn't have to tell you. You were so paying attention to her that she didn't have to tell you. I remember this distinctly with my husband. We would have a tense conversation over the phone, and we would hang up, and I would think, okay, now I'm steaming. I am fuming. I am rage cleaning my house.
Oh.
And he would call me up, and I would be like, this bastard better have an apology because I'm mad. And he calls me and he goes, so I know you're rage cleaning your house. I know you're really upset because you heard me say this and this is what's going through your head. And I just want you to know that is not what I meant, and this is what I'm thinking, and I understand that you're upset about this or that. Like, he knew without me having to say anything. He knew. And then fast forward 10 years and he's like, why are you mad? And I'm like, I've actually been telling you for 10 years why I'm mad. Now you're confused. Where's that guy? And he would say the same of me. Like, where's that girl that I fell in love with? The one that was fun, the one that wanted to go out, the one that was adventurous, the one that wanted to travel, the one that was free spirit. Like, where is that girl? I fell in love with that girl. I didn't fall in love with old lady mom. That I got hoodwinked. That's
Hey,
how he thinks of it.
I can tell you, like, with our situation, mine was like overly adventurous, but it was all for like a type of insecurity that she was having with her own self. And we were a COVID couple, so we were always technically indoors to begin with our kind of our relationship. So a little bit different out of the norm, but the part where you said like you don't dress like this anymore, that hit home for me because one of the things that mine came up with the excuse is that it was COVID. We were indoors the whole time. It's like, no, dog, you went to work a year after COVID was let up and you still wasn't like dressing, the way that I met you. So you-
Yeah, the person
why?
you fell in love with, part of it was the aesthetic packaging, both sides, right?
Yeah.
Like women also look at their men going, you let yourself go too. What happened to the gym? Like
Now here's
we
the
both
thing.
used to be gym rats and now I go and you don't. Like,
Yeah, I was gonna say too, like I told her up front, like my gym days are further behind me because I used to play football in high school and a little bit in college. And I was like, yeah, no, because I was the one who always had to stay in the gym because if I would stop, then the muscle that I developed would just kind of wither away. And so I got sick of the gym because it's just like I'm doing all this stuff for what? But I'm not so far gone to the point where it's just I'm flabby and like unattractive in that fashion. But it's just I couldn't do it anymore because I got sick of waking up early in the morning and going through all of that stuff, and that's the only way I can stay, lean or
right.
whatever. I was like, nah, I'm getting too old for this. Like, I need to kind of throttle back on that because now my time is dedicated to trying to run your own firm and find different projects and barely going to bed because you're always my brain doesn't shut off. Like, it's always in constant like, what's the next big thing that I can kind of tackle?
Right. And
So
I think the pressure for a man also when you get married, some switch turns on like, oh, I'm in provider mode.
yep, that's exactly
Oh,
what it is.
right. And so now the focus is provide, 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 go get,
Mhm.
go get, go get. And I fundamentally believe, and this is just my relationship philosophy, that men generally, and this is not all men, and I don't want to even accuse men of this is not a negative, but men are typically redirectors of energy. So they will take if a woman is pouring into them, if they feel safe and secure in a relationship, they actually become significantly more successful. Like the saying goes, behind every great man is a good woman, right,
Mhm.
or a great
Mhm.
woman, because a man who feels secure in the home and knows that that shit's taken care of and he doesn't have to worry about it, goes and gets promotions, goes and gets money, goes and gets builds businesses, builds empires. They take all that energy of that safety, stability, and love that their wife or significant other is giving them, and they go and create and push that energy out into the world, which is a great thing. This is not a I'm not saying this as a negative.
Mhm.
um, I think women are amplifiers and reciprocators. So a woman needs to be fed love. So a woman who is well loved, well cared for, well supported goes and doubles it and reciprocates.
Right.
So for when women are getting whatever their love language is, the flowers or the quality time or a clean kitchen, and then you hear the joke like, hey, if you want that something something, the hottest thing in the world to me is that you did the dishes, right? They will immediately see you as a glowing person in their life. And you will say, not every time I did the dishes and she didn't feel shit. I'll explain why. but generally, if she's consistently well loved, that love will amplify and reciprocate back to you.
Right.
She gives more than what she gets always, and that she does that with children too. That's why children they're built for nurturing. Women are built for nurturing, is because all the love they get from their child they pour right back into their child. So children that well love their parents are getting, it's because they're well loved by their parents, and it's this loop that feeds itself of love going back and forth between them. What ends up happening, what I see in relationships that are longer term and and start to drift away is, especially when a man is educated and successful and ambitious and those things, is he starts to turn away from his wife and start redirecting that energy. They often forget to turn back in towards their wife and pour back into her. So she's amplifying love that she had gotten over the last 2 years, and she'll do it for 5 years. You'll see her give, and be confused. Like, she's not going to yell at you for leaving the socks down until the 5th year. Now she's fucking out of energy. Now she's out of emotional fuel. You haven't fed her. You haven't watered her. You've been so busy building the empire, redirecting that love she's been putting into you to go create, that you forget to turn around and go, hey, baby, how you doing?
Well,
Like, hey, baby, I want to take you to the ballet. I want to do the things that you love. It's not about whether I love it. It's not
yeah.
going to kill me with a ballet. I know you love the ballet, and you should know that because the 2 years before you got married, you knew that.
Well,
You were going to the ballet, right?
I'm
And this is in the breakup context, right? So she will, all those things that you used to do to feed her and make her feel loved kind of disappear, and she drains, of that energy, and now she's amplifying and reciprocating what she's getting. And if it's nothing, you're going to get a whole lot of nothing. And if it's negative, you're going to get a whole lot of negative. And it doesn't have to be 5 years or 2 years. The timing is kind of irrelevant. But after a certain point, that love well runs dry, and now you getting what you given.
well, that's kind of
And
funny.
then they get mad, and then I see it's almost like lockstep. As soon as that happens, I can predict whether a man is going to cheat. Now they got to go get love from somebody else
Well,
to feed an empire building.
okay, I'm gonna cut in really, really quick on this one. Well, it might not be quick, but it's 2 points that I wanted to point out. Yeah, because I know I can be long-winded too. The 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 well running dry is something that I hear a lot about, whereas for men, it's more like building up. So as most women like gets drained, most men are trying to build up, and that's kind of the problem. I think like
Yeah,
women will come into it with like this 100% bar, and then it gets drained down, whereas men are like, I'm coming in looking for the charge up. So
right.
and if you can figure out the differences between the two and how things work within context of each other, which goes back to, you know, making sure that y'all are open. And I think this leads back to one single word that a lot of people are not considering when they have these different conversations is empathy. Like that's kind of
Yeah.
your root word of like being a part of relationships. If you don't have any empathy or you never learn to have empathy towards other people's predicaments or putting their shoes on to walk in it for a little bit, like I'll never say that, oh, I don't know what women are thinking about when it comes to pregnancy. It should be easy, or whenever you have cramps or whatever. It's just like, no way. If I ever say anything like that, I should be stoned to death. But it's kind of one of those things where women sometimes don't understand what men go through, and then men are complex because now you got different races, different regions they stay across, different upbringings, different PTSDs, and so you got this complex, like, social aspect of these individuals that are being drug into like the relationship. And if there's no empathy of understanding, hey, here's all the things that are associated with your upbringing and who you are as an individual that I need to be aware of. And then if they're not communicating, and on top of that, then now you have this, you know, succotash of issues that are not being addressed. And so both of y'all are just
Suffering
bumping heads.
succotash.
Yeah, I said succotash.
Suffering succotash.
I know
But
with
no,
the lisp, with the lisp and everything.
yeah, I actually love that you say that. And we had my one of our episodes was about this, is that, and I see it in relationships with a lot of guys, is that pressure to provide,
Yep.
that click that happens in their head, and then it doubles and triples that pressure when they have children.
Hmm.
As And then women not looking and recognizing, hey, I know you're working your ass off. And by the way, not all men are working their ass off, and
Right.
not all women are nice.
Hmm.
And let's leave that out, because we know that's absolutely true. Not every girl is kind and generous, and not every guy is working hard. But let's assume in most relationships, there's genuinely two people who care about each other, who are trying their best, who now don't know how to empathize with one another because they're both in a situation where they can't get their needs met,
Mm-hmm.
and not necessarily through a fault of the other. And I see that time and time again with a lot of the guys that I know, that they're working so hard and they're like, I just want to hear from my wife that I'm enough.
Yeah, that's I went through
I
that.
just want to hear from my wife that you're proud of me. I just want to hear from my wife that you see me and you see me struggle and you see me frustrated and you see me giving. And it may not be the way that you want me to give, but you see it, you see the effort, and just give me some more of that. And women will say, well, I do say that and it doesn't go anywhere. And yeah, and what ends up happening is when you're at the point where both those wells are dry, you're looking for the charge up and that well is dry, like you both have nothing left to give each other.
Right.
And so now it's all resentment. Now it's all animosity. Now it's all aggravation and frustration. You're not giving. Well, you're not giving. Well, you're not giving. And who should go first in this? The chicken or the egg? And the answer is you both got nothing left to give.
Yeah.
And honestly, in those moments, it's one of those things where I highly recommend to couples to stop, let go of everything that was the past, and reintroduce yourself to the other. Start trauma dumping, right? Like as if this is a stranger to you, as if you're going on your first date and you're reintroducing yourself, because she doesn't understand your life and he doesn't understand your life. You both don't know each other. These are two people who are strangers to each other. And it's time to meet again. It's really hard to do that with kids, by the way. So it's not like it's easy, like, oh yeah, just go talk for 5 hours. You can't with kids, but
I was gonna say this too, as a disclaimer to the one listener. We are not psychologists by profession or by trade.
speak for yourself. I've been keeping marriages together since I was 4 years old.
Yeah, and I studied psychology.
He actually is
okay, my bad.
told.
I just didn't want us to like be all of a sudden people or the one decides that they want to take some valuable information from this and try to apply it, and then all of a sudden it's like that's not how that works, and they
And by the way,
just
that's
ruin
their
their
mistake.
opportunity. Huh?
And yeah, by the way, that's their problem.
Okay, all
If
right.
they have made it this far and they still think we know what we're talking about, that's on them.
That really is. That's a them problem.
There you go. Well, I wanted to actually say this because I didn't know how much time we had, but I wanted to say I think talking to Sheetal all this time that apparently my algorithm picked up on a lot of our conversations and started feeding me a bunch of different Indian women on my timeline on Instagram. And for some reason, I came across this one, and I had to check to see if she was AI or not. And I actually DM'd her, and she finally got back to me after like several days. And I was just like, "Oh, so she's not an actual AI bot." And she is Indian, and I was asking Cheetle a lot of questions. I was like, "Man, what is going on with this?" And so I'm very new to the whole internet relationship game of like talking to people via the net or DMs or anything like that because I grew up in an era where you talk physically face to face, and I would have never thought because most Indian women that I've come across, or Persian or Arab or otherwise, typically always gravitated to white men. And I mean, you look at like Priyanka Chopra, who ended up going with the
Nick
Jonas brother or
Jonas.
whatever. Yeah, and all you can think of is like that's just who they're into. But in actuality,
No,
I've seen some
that's a
very
Nick Jonas thing. That's special.
well, sure, but I mean, do you know like how many Indian women still go through like skin lightener situations and all that other stuff
Well,
to
yeah,
like
the fair skin
really, yeah.
world, the pressure to be fair skinned is really intense in India.
So with that being said, somebody like me, I keep seeing like people who look like me, like with other Indian women. I'm like, where do y'all find these women at? Because I feel like every time I come across an Arab woman, Asian woman, or Indian woman, I don't have a shot in the world
You
because
don't,
of just
but you
like my
do, but you
background.
don't.
I know that's what I'm saying. I don't exactly get it. So I want for like one listener, if they're like me, like what would be like, let's say, okay, I identify as a black cis male, and I'm interested in Indian women. What is like the universal code to that when it comes? Does the Indian woman have to already grow up in the hood to understand black men to actually be open to them, or can I just randomly come across an Indian woman or Asian woman or whatever on the streets and just be like, "Hey, baby, you look hot." That's not my
No,
line,
you
but
can't.
I'm just saying.
No. Yeah, I mean, you can, but you can't, but you can. So here's the thing. If you want to, for anybody trying to go, let's go Asian, like Southeast Asian or South Asian. Because, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, those, those cultures are a little bit different.
Mhm.
I think there's more openness to some interracial dating there. It maybe minutely more, but there's still a little bit more. But with Indian people, when they're the way to it, this is gonna say I'm so fucking racist. This is gonna be the worst. So I'm gonna just
No,
say
this
this.
is this is the episode we get canceled. So here you go. Let's go
I've
for
already been canceled. That's why we only have one listener.
it.
Just the way we wanted it.
There you go.
It was
It's
on
less
purpose.
pressure.
It is. So I would say for if you're going typical, and I'm atypical, right? So I don't follow much of the cultural norms, but one of the things is one, you don't fucking mess with her food. She eats what she eats.
What?
And
Oh,
you're
okay.
happy to eat it. And if you go and meet her parents, you eat what they give you and you say, yes, more. Can I have some? Can I
Oh,
have
wow.
some more? Thank you, sir. Can I have another? It doesn't matter if you can't feel your tongue anymore. It doesn't matter.
It's gonna be a bad day
All
in the
that
bathroom,
matters,
boy.
yes, you suck it up and take that Imodium and you show that girl's family who's boss.
Take the Imodium. Oh man, I'm not looking
But
forward to that.
seriously, you come. Indians show love through food, and so you better eat it, and you better like it. And when they pour more food on that plate, you clean that plate. Doesn't matter. You suck it up and deal, and you go, "Thank you so much." And then you tell that girl's father that you're going to be a doctor one day, and you tell him
What?
that you
There's
are
too much
doctor
expectations here.
engineer. Doctor or engineer, you pick one. I think you can get away with engineer because you're an
Flip a
architect.
coin. It's
Yeah,
fine.
What kind of
yeah,
engineer though? Because I mean, like
doesn't
building
matter. Mechanical,
engineer,
you
They're
mechanical,
pick
not.
one.
They're not going to ask
structural.
necessarily. So
No.
Does what
yeah, one
architecture kind
engineer
of
though.
fall under that umbrella? Because
Yeah, it
oh, it
does.
does.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
okay, nice.
professional.
Okay.
And you do engineering. You say that, and we say it with all the
Yeah.
confidence you have in the world. And when they ask you about how's that work going, you go, "It's great. I love that math, love that engineering."
Oh God,
Like,
I love that math.
like, and yeah, because that's just what you do. And then you tell her, baby, no matter how annoying your parents are, they are allowed to die in our house. Like,
That's not morbid at all. But okay, gotcha.
hey, she is gonna be like, oh, he accepts me for me. Oh, he accepts my family. He doesn't judge any of the weird shit we do. He's ready to do all of the dances. He's ready to, like, touch the feet of the uncles. It's great.
Yo.
This is it. This is my man's.
Okay,
And
wait. So let me kick in another. So you know how I came to you not too long ago about somebody that I've been interested in and thought she's absolutely beautiful. But you said there's a difference between those who are Americanized and those who are still like heavily involved with the culture. So the one
oh
person I
yeah.
came across, like she definitely dresses like there's like she's not wearing traditional garbs or anything like that, not staying fully covered up, definitely confident in her legs because hey, let me admit I'm a leg man, so I'm all for that. But it was just weird for me to see. It's almost like the first time I watched Bling Empire, and I was just like, no way. There's no way that
Oh,
like this culture who is very big on humility and respect for each
So
other and all that other stuff is like acting out like this on this television show. And it was, you kind of don't want to go in just tunnel vision, but you also want to make sure that there's a kaleidoscope within the culture of different people and be okay with that and not trying to hold them to like a typical stereotype.
exactly. And so that's the thing is that, and I go, okay, don't judge her food, but don't be going like, I went to an Indian restaurant once,
Oh my
as
God,
if
that's
that
the
makes
whole I
you
got a black
understand her
friend. I
culture.
totally get it.
Yeah, like,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
hey, he's like, oh, you're Indian? My friend so and so Patel had an Indian wedding and it was the best.
Oh my
No,
God. No.
no, no, because it's like saying, yeah, if I go to a black man and you're like, oh, you're black? I saw a barber shop once. Like,
Oh my God.
If you want to know something, I was a part of a situation where just like not necessarily black don't crack, but you know what they say about black men, because that's the only ones I date, and I'm just like, why are we having this conversation this way?
yeah,
This is
exactly. So
not weird at
it
all.
goes the same way. Like when the first interactions are about, let me unpack all of your cultural identity as if that's the most important part of you, except and you don't ask her, hey, what'd you study in college? Do you have any brothers and sisters? Where'd you grow up? What music do you listen to? Indians listen to music. We're fun people. Like, we're regular everyday human beings.
Oh yeah,
And start with the human parts of her. The cultural parts will come out after. And for her, if she's non-traditional, okay, I used to tell Indian dudes, and I tell all dudes, I don't cook, I don't clean, I won't stay home and raise your babies.
hmm
It's amazing that none of them wanted to marry me.
what? I mean, you know what? The funny thing is,
Yeah,
you're at
goose
least
egg.
telling people up front. So
Yeah, I'm like, goose egg, not interested. I am
wow,
not the girl to bring home to mom. And so if she's non traditional, being the antithesis of if she is rebelling against the culture and she's not the Susie homemaker
hmm
of Indians and she doesn't want to, birth 18 babies and be a stay-at-home mom, like if she goes against one of those weird stereotypes that people have about Asian women and being that they're submissive or subservient. One of the things that was really attractive about my husband is like, hey, I don't cook, I don't clean, I won't stay home to raise your babies. He goes, we'll order in, I guess. Must get it. Maybe I'll hire a housekeeper.
that's real.
Like
That's
it
real. You know
was
what I'm saying?
right, like that. I'm not with you for that. I'm not with you because I expect you to be submissive. I'm not with you because I expect you to be some fetishized version of this exotic woman that I
Right.
see in anime or in movies or anything else. And accepting her for being weird or funny or interesting as a woman
hmm
who happens to have an Indian cultural upbringing. So she
Right.
brings some of that works to the table. That's attractive. Like a lot of people, when you get, especially in the interracial aspect of it, and I see that, and going back to that movie, You People, they just want to talk about all your Indianness. Like, let me just explore the part of you that is foreign to me, or let me explore the part of you. Like, nothing is more annoying to an Indian woman than you going up to her and going, "Have you read the Kama Sutra?"
Oh my
Like,
God. Oh my God. Oh my
yeah,
God. I'm so sorry. And I mean, the funny thing is I'm glad you. The reason why I brought it up is because of my not only my own experience with it, but then also my cultural blindness to like how these things work. Because the I always get worried and concerned that the fetishization of a other person's culture should not be like that conversation piece to like really kick off. That should be something further down the line of like, well, culturally, this is what I went through, my experiences, PTSDs, but then also bright spots. Whereas, like you said, like focus more on just who they are as an individual, because the person
yeah,
that I've tried to reach out to and just having DM sessions here and there has been mostly to figure out A, where did she learn how to dress? Because oh my God, she's killing it. And then two, like what attracted me to her was just that she was very pretty. She did get ready with me's, in the morning. She'll put on her makeup, but she does her makeup pretty well. Like it's very smooth, very rich, and she's not overdoing it. And then just a fly looking person. And she tends to
Yeah,
hang out with like people who look like me but are actually culturally African. But it was, those things had brought my attention to her to continue to go down the rabbit hole of like her Instagram page. So it wasn't the Indian part. It just ended up being like
yeah.
the secondary thing. Like, oh, you're Indian, that's cool. But I thought she was actually South African.
Well,
And I would say to her, tell me more about that. Don't ask her questions like you know what that is.
Yeah, yeah.
Because a lot of people do. Like, do you like spicy food? Or where's the dot on your head?
Oh
Like,
my
no, come
God.
on.
No.
mhm,
No. Where's the dot on your head?
Oh,
mhm.
man. Like,
Oh God. That is not good. I mean, because that can mean so
and
many
don't
different
ask her if
things.
she knows some Indian person that you know. No, she doesn't know Sanjay. There's like
There's a
8
ton of
billion
them,
of
right?
us.
That's like, yo, you
Don't
know this
ask
dude
if
named
she
Mike?
likes Bollywood movies.
Oh yeah, don't
Bollywood
ask if she
movies?
likes
No.
Bollywood movies. If she likes it, she will bring it up. Like my favorite movie is then you can talk about it. But do not ask her if she likes Bollywood movies.
Oh
You
my
ain't watching
goodness.
Bollywood movies. Stop it.
Mm-mm. Yeah, I mean, and I learned that from my ex-wife. It's like, yo, man, like everything that's Arab about me, you don't have to like drill down on it. It'll eventually come out. But like,
Yeah.
what about me as an individual? What are the things you like? And I mean, we went through and had those
Well,
conversations. So she liked my
it,
butt.
it
I
would be
liked her
this.
legs. Yay. No, I'm just
Yay.
playing.
Well, no, but it would be the same for her too. She might be asking the same thing of her friends, going, "Oh, he's black. What should I say? What does that mean? How do I interact with him?" And I would say the same thing. Don't ask him if he likes chicken. That's not a thing. That's not a question.
Which I actually do. So hey,
Of
easy.
course you do. What's not to like?
Obviously.
Chicken noodle soup, chicken feet. I can keep going down the line here. Yeah.
Yeah, but like, and don't ask to touch his hair. Like, there's things. Just don't. Like it
Just
again, it's coming to you and going, everything I know about you, I can glean from the surface of you. And that's how these relationships start and friendships start. And they go, I want to know only what I can see skin deep. Tell me what the skin color means. And that's all I need to know about you as a person.
Mhm.
So she has to do that way too. The part that makes you unique as a black man in America, that'll all come out. But she doesn't have to come and approach you as if she knows everything about you just by knowing that you're black.
And by the way, for
I like
everybody,
I
this
like to
is
think of it
No, go ahead.
so treat everyone as a person first.
correct.
Uh, and so like be it for Indian culture or for black culture,
Or for
a lot
white
of people
culture,
wait.
like again,
Right.
is the
Yeah.
same.
Hmm.
All cultures just treat them as a person first, and then they're a person who have had a specific type of experiences,
Hmm.
right? So be it white experiences, Indian, black, right? And you get to know those experiences, but those aren't the only experiences they've had,
Correct.
right? They've had other experiences like where they grew up, where they went to school, like so it should be part of the conversation, the overall conversation of just getting to know them. Like, tell me about your experiences, and I think that that would be a much better approach because it definitely happens in return with how we treat black people, that we don't see them immediately as people. uh we treat them as a monolith, like as you mentioned earlier, and I'm like, look, there are black nerds,
Yeah.
lots
Yeah.
of them, right? they There's nothing really different. We're all just people. We all do random things, so just get to know us.
I was gonna.
Every person just yeah.
Oh, sorry to butt in. I was gonna say the
Hmm.
difference of the black nerds in the black community is we had to hide it. So it was like being trans or
Right.
LGBTQ in the black community, which is still frowned upon in the black community.
Yeah.
There's a faction in the black community where there's still, LGBTQ plus is frowned upon because of this huge social slash religion, indoctrination of like, you know, that's frowned upon by God. But it's like, yes, by God, that's for him to judge, not for you. You still need to go out there and make sure you shake hands, hug, and be there for them as individuals because they're here on earth and they walk the earth with you. But the other thing is, it's like the ignorance behind, um, being vulnerable and being open to, like, hey, your situation is just as dire based on your situation, and we need to respect it as such, and just use that as a base jump off point, and then help grow each other, not necessarily tear each other down. So yeah, and then I was gonna say too, this is Black History Month, so a lot of the conversation we're having is kind of a Sheetle's way of honoring that. So there you go. We're double-edged sword there. Valentine's Day and Black History Month all rolled into one.
I
Uh,
will say I don't believe in Valentine's Day.
oh,
I don't.
Mhm.
I don't believe in it.
I
And
got you.
here's the thing. Like I find so weird, and
It's a marketing
more
thing.
power. Yeah, more power to
Mhm.
women who love to get dressed up and go to dinner and be showered with gifts of candy and plushies and whatever it is that you're getting on Valentine's Day. Love to me is every day.
Mhm.
Like I don't
Yeah.
need a day to for Valentine's Day. I don't need a $400 dinner. Like it's one, it tastes bad. Two, it's crowded. It's loud. I'm like, it seems like a
Oh yeah.
monster in the ass. You know what I love? I will say, I don't believe in Valentine's Day. I am a firm believer in the day after Valentine's Day.
Because things are cheaper.
I am, oh my God, it is all of the
Oh
same
yeah.
for 70% off.
Absolutely. Candy, access to Fogo de Chao. It's gonna be empty in there.
Yeah, you want them panties dropping, tell her you got it, buy one, get one free. Like you
Wait,
like
this is new to me. I'm taking notes. Yes.
well,
Okay.
you gotta know your woman
That's a
because some
specific
women
type of
really,
person.
I
yes,
know.
some
That's what I
women really
thought too.
love that Valentine's Day. They love that you spent $400 or $100 for that box of chocolates that no one eats. Like they love that because that means you're showing their love. I love the idea that you didn't overspend for a box of chocolates that no one eats, that you bought me a whole bunch of Reese's peanut butter cups on discount.
Man,
You go get that discount.
look,
You go get those day after roses.
oh my God. If I had a girlfriend or a wife right now, she'd be happy at these Girl Scout cookies I done bought. I bought like a bunch of Thin
See?
Mints. And it's like, yo, you can have some of these Thin Mints that I typically don't share.
Oh, you see? See, and that's love.
Hey,
See, now we're getting to it. And so it's Valentine's Day, which, that was kind of the purpose of today and talking to you is that Valentine's Day is upon us and there's a lot of guys who are going to be scrambling at the Publix checkout counter or the Walgreens checkout counter to get a card and one of those Russell Stovers,
oh God.
which I hate. Fuck that thing. Fuck that shit.
Yeah,
I don't be getting me chocolates I can't eat. Half of those chocolates taste like ass. I
they
don't want
do.
them.
They do. They,
Yes.
it's just
I
like,
don't want to. You get me those Lindor truffles. There's
you
like
like
$5.
those?
The blue ones,
Uh,
that's
hey,
the good stuff.
look, that's what we differ.
Godiva, Ghirardelli, all of
Mm-mm.
those fine.
Garrett,
All of those are fine.
I don't mess with any of them because they got shit in the middle of it. Just give me straight up peanut butter M&Ms or some Hershey's Kisses
It's
with
just
nothing in it.
chocolate.
That's it. But it's like
That
it's not real. I mean, it's milk
it's
chocolate,
chocolate.
but
No, the ones I like don't have like caramel or other stuff in
oh,
it.
okay.
It's
So you
just
got the solid ones. Okay, yeah.
yeah, I like the solid ones. I don't. People need to stop
Don't put
putting shit
fruit
in
in
my
my
chocolate.
stuff, man. Yeah.
Yes. What is with
Chocolate
the fruit
covered
in my
anything. Leave it
chocolate?
alone.
I will say, uh, cut up bananas, peanut butter, like a chunky peanut butter that's kind of melted over with chocolate on top. That's good.
That's a oxy.
That's good.
Anything with fruit involved is an oxymoron to me. Like, it's just
You
why
don't
would you
knock
do
it till
that?
you try it.
I have, and I'm very much like a texture person.
Oh,
So
okay, I feel you.
yeah, if it,
But anyway,
And that's different. Yeah.
so like if you're going to Valentine's Day and you have a whole no, because when this is coming out, it's Valentine's Day. You fucked. You need there's no reservations for you. But you can still make it if you got a girl who really likes to be romanced on Valentine's Day and you didn't get reservations, you don't want to go out and spend a lot of money. A bottle of wine or champagne, um, a, a a thing of candy that you know she likes. It can be Twix. Get her a Snickers. It doesn't matter. Like you
I'm going
just
to
have
the
to
Dollar
know
General
she.
now.
Yeah, put that in that brown bag and you hand it over to her.
Brown
And
bag.
you make sure that she's not cooking, dinner is taken care of, whatever that dinner is. And if you're watching a movie together or doing something together, play a game or whatever it is you're doing together, just make that about her. Let her pick the movie. Let her pick if she's like, I saw this on TikTok, which I thought was genius. Hey, baby, guess what we're having for dinner today? We're not going out, but
Mhm.
guess what we're going to order for dinner today? Let her choose and get excited about it. Even if that's not your favorite meal, get something that you know she likes and enjoy the evening. Even if you have kids, like you don't have to go out to be
Mhm.
romantic. You don't have to go out to tell her, baby, I love you. Rub her feet, give her a shoulder massage, do something to make her feel loved if Valentine's Day is her thing. And the other thing about Valentine's Day for a lot of people who are Valentine's Day people, it is not about what you do, it's about the fact that other people know you did something.
Yeah.
It is about the show. Girls like to look at other girls like, you know what my man did.
I don't
Like
know
this is what
why,
they
but yeah.
want. It's not about what you did. It's about can they tell their girlfriends about what you did and feel like, hey, I got a good one. This is what I want to, this is the story I want to tell. So you can get creative. It can be it can be small. It can be inexpensive. But as long as it's a reflection of what you know about her specifically, and not just what you know about women like bitches love chocolate. No, what you know about her.
Bitches love chocolate.
Like,
What the hell?
then you're good. Like if you know she really loves this movie, like it's always on, or you really know she loves something, like she's obsessed with collecting something. Find it. Hey baby, I saw this. I know you love this. And it shows that you pay attention to her. It shows that you cared enough to go out of your way, even if it's day of, but you went out of your way thinking about her and wanting her to feel special today. Tell her she's beautiful. Tell her that she makes your life better. And find a moment, even if it's 1 minute out of the day, even with kids, to pull her aside and tell her, even if you don't have time to do Valentine's Day, even if you're not physically together on Valentine's, a lot of people work, to send her a text message or send her a voice note going, it's Valentine's Day. I'm thinking of you. I want you to know today and every day that you're loved. Take it, quote it, doesn't matter. Like, you send that to her so that she knows that you feel that way, that you're taking a moment to acknowledge your feelings for her. These things are usually enough. And by the way, if you did do that voice note, she can show it to her friends the next day. Look at what my man said to me. Like it's not that hard. Like people think it's hard to please a woman. It's actually not that hard. People think it takes money. People think it takes a lot of time. It doesn't. It just takes thinking about her for a few minutes of your day, going and racking your brain of what you know about her up to this point, and going, has she been craving, margaritas lately? Like, bring home margarita mix and make her margaritas. Baby, I learned how to make a margarita. Watch a YouTube video. It takes 4 minutes. Right? As she's been saying, like, just pay attention. Pay attention. And if you forgot it's Valentine's Day and it's just realizing it now, you can still do something. You can still show her that you think she's special.
Can I
It
chime
doesn't
in with?
take a lot. Go ahead.
I'm gonna chime in with a shoe on the other foot situation. So if you're a woman going through Valentine's Day and your man is like he's got really no expectations. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm the type of dude who's got no expectations. So it's okay. I also think too that to break out of the norm of society telling you you have to be demure about these things. So like if you horny and you want to fuck, can you just tell your man, hey, I'm horny, I want to fuck. Like sometimes like the mind games is like becoming really stupid, and
Well,
it's okay to actually be like, hey, yo, pipe me down. What's up? Like let's set something into it's okay to do that because the whole idea of trying to get him to understand how you're thinking through no communication, both verbally, physically, or otherwise, is not going to do you any good. It might go way over his head because he's thinking about where the next paycheck's coming from for the house. So take that into consideration that he might not be thinking that you're in the mood, let alone that might not be on his mind. But if you actually show him, hey, just be very blatant sometimes and be like, yo, I need my clock clean. Let's go do something real quick. You know what I'm saying? It's
that's the
okay.
first time I've heard that.
Y'all
I
are
need my
married
clock
and y'all are
clean.
dating. It's okay. Just be open to like telling your man like let's go fuck. It's cool.
But I would even take it a step further because I know a lot of guys. They're pressured to be the romancer on days like this, like on Valentine's Day and stuff, and plan and think and put in all the effort.
Hmm.
You know, I found this out from another guy that they're like, we like gifts too.
Yeah.
We we like flowers too. We actually like little shows of affection. He's like, I like Reese's peanut butter cups. Why am I the one that always has to buy them? Like,
Yeah.
like if you are in a healthy relationship and you are in a place where you guys are still able to give to each other, go ahead and think about your spouse or your boyfriend or your male significant other here, and think about what you know about him. And a lot of girls will be like, okay, yeah, I know what I know about him. I know what he wants. And he's only going to get that if he gives to me. And there's a lot of girls like that. But if you're in a healthy relationship and it's a two-way street, yeah, absolutely, you can get him something silly. Like, I like silly Valentine's Day gifts. When I first met my husband, so I like to draw a lot. Our family is a lot of artists, and we have equal parts math and art brains. But when
That's
I first met my husband, our first date was Valentine's Day. He took me out and he took me to a Mexican restaurant, and he had the owner bring out a plate of dessert and it said Happy Valentine's Day on it, written in chocolate. It was very, very sweet. The next year, and this is just me being silly, I sent him a Valentine's Day card that I drew. And I think it was like Batman. It was like Batman from like a bat signal or whatever. And it's like, will you be my Valentine? You guys like that stuff. They like that little cutesy, show of affection, and in a feminine way. You can do little things for them too. If you know your guy likes nerd stuff, you can get something nerdy for him. And by the way, that is those clues. Like, oh, you were thinking of me. Yeah, and then it leads to the next thing. So it doesn't always have to be about sex and showing your spouse or your boyfriend that you're ready, willing, and able, but it could be even those little touch points of intimacy and connection that you're like, oh, you were thinking about me. Oh, you were thinking about me too. And now you can be together. So it's not too late. There's still time to show affection and love for another. And I what makes me sad sometimes, especially nowadays, and we'll probably finish up here now, is it feels like we've forgotten what love means. Like, all the stuff we see, so much of social media going back to the transactional aspect. If he's good, then he'll get some, and if she's good, then I'll buy her a purse or shoes or whatever. This give and take of a transactional relationship, and it's boiled down to the lowest common denominator of connection. When love is an amazing feeling. Like, I always wonder about some of these guys that are like wanting, or wanting this submissive like, do guys not want love anymore? Do girls not want love anymore? And there's still a value to it. I still believe in love. I'm still a romantic. I believe in love. I believe in intimacy and vulnerability and connection with someone that's important to me.
See,
I start with that.
I was gonna say, I think the the definition has been distorted. So what that means for one person or generation of a person is different for the next person or generation of a person. What I mean is that again, things are complex, and we can't look at things as just this or that binary. We have to look at it across the board of a multitude of different things includes that's included in that definition. And so I think because there's no solidarity in what a singular definition of what love is, there's a huge confusion on how that should be delivered or executed. So I think that's again a conversation between your significant other and yourself of
Yeah.
what are the expectations
Mhm.
for this definition of love that we are essentially saying that we're accepting to be a part of. And then you stick to that definition. Now, if it evolves over time, great. Let's make sure that we understand that this definition of love between each other is going to evolve, and we need to be prepared for it. But then let's have a conversation on how you feel when we get to another stage of what this is. And so, yeah, it could be. I mean, some people's definition could be of love could be how they care for each other. Others could be like how you sex them up. Like it's a variety of different things that y'all just need to have a conversation about and how you want to execute it. And if you could do that, again, the empathy part is huge. You have to have empathy as kind of the baseline of this thing. Then you can pretty much go far with it. Just make sure that communication is at the forefront as well as empathy.
And that kind of goes true for non-romantic relationships too.
Correct.
Like if you can lead with empathy, you have a more solid foundation and chance of having really mutually beneficial relationships, even amongst your friendships, amongst your siblings, your family, um, friendships, colleagues, and then on top of that, being in your first and foremost is your significant other, spouse, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever it is that you have. And so I'm excited, Sean. I'm so happy you joined us on this call
Hey, thanks for
and
having me.
wanted
It's
to
been
be on
my
the
pleasure.
show. And you're going to be on the show again, I'm sure.
I hope so.
You know,
And it was
There's a
great to meet you.
Yeah, nice to
oh,
meet you as well. I wanted to talk about your name because the first episode y'all talked about names, and I thought it was funny how the person who tried to mention like your name was like he thought he was going for it, but he completely whiffed it, and it was hilarious. I brought tears to my eyes. I was like, yeah, when they're confident about saying your name, but then they still screw it up after just one shot. So yeah, I wanted to be a part of that conversation so bad because people used to mention my name in the wrong way, and I have to remind them it's Sean, like Sean Connery, because that's who I was named after. So
what do people call you? How is there another word for Sean?
Yeah.
scene. So
Oh,
people are
okay.
What?
not, yeah,
Oh
people
no.
like, but this happens within my own community too. Like when I was born and getting baptized, people were saying, "Man, they messed your son's name up. Look how they spelled it," because they're used to SHAWN. If you're Scottish, it's SHAUN. There's been ways it was
Mhm.
CHON, which I don't know how that's Sean. So it just goes on and on. But yeah, I wanted to be a part of a lot of future conversations because some of the
Oh,
conversations Sheetal and I have, it's incredible. So I was like,
oh
yeah,
yeah, you're gonna be on the show again. We're gonna do. You're gonna be awesome if we do the DEI episode because I want to try to get that in. I want to
you're
turn it on the
definitely getting canceled after that one because I got so much to say about it. Like the FBI is gonna come in. We gotta shut this down, sir. Like no.
Yeah, no, I'm probably already on the no-fly list. It's fine.
Look,
But
I
it
don't
was
think
so
we
good
want
to
to be
have
on
you on
that
the
right
show.
now.
No, it's so good to have you on the show, and you're definitely going to be back on the show, and hopefully, be a regular fixture with us.
Sure, be my pleasure, and thanks for having me again.
All right, thanks, listener. we value you. Now make sure that the next one you don't listen to. We get one, and then we pass it on to the next person. This is Sheathal Weapon. Thank you for listening.
Thanks for hanging out with us today. If you love this episode, or if you at least didn't hate it, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss what's coming next. And hey, share it with your friends, share it with your family. Until next time, stay bold, stay real, peace out.